second time around through the conference schedule, obviously with TCU. So how are things different when you play a team a second time? Scouts different? Do you adjust things? Do they adjust to you? How does it work when you face somebody a second time?
Well, I'm sure they're going to adjust because we doubled all the ball screens the first time, and Jamie made reference to it in a couple of his interviews afterwards. So I'm sure they're going to try to make some adjustments. I don't know. I think we're at the point where we're getting fairly good at what we do. So we'll probably just keep doing what we do.
Yeah, so I was ask you, do more often than not, you just do what you're good at when you face people later in the season, or are there significant changes?
I think you can tweak some things, but I think by and large, you do what you do. You do what you're good at. I mean, you've practiced it all year.
Question goes to Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach. Hey, I was just wondering, TCU, Mike Miles, injured knee in the last game. Doesn't look like he's going to play. How much does that change the scout and, just change what, how you can attack them? Because obviously, he's their best player.
I don't think it changes them very much. They've got multiple guys that make shots. And I watched a bunch of their games yesterday, and when Miles has a bad day, they have a lot of other people that are very capable of stepping up. I mean, they've got at least 3 or 4 guys that are really, really good shooters, and they've got guys that handle the ball well. So obviously he's a great player. They're going to miss him, but they've got a whole bunch of other guys that can, I think, step up for them.
Questions for Coach Huggins, please use the raised hand feature. We'll go back to Greg Hunter.
Bob, talk about James Okonkwo a little bit more. You talked about him a lot, but for a guy, especially a foreign guy who hasn't maybe played a lot of American basketball, how long does it normally take them to get to where you want them to be, and how quickly has he arrived?
Well, James came over here and played at a prep school in Southern West Virginia for a year or so, maybe a little bit more than a year, and played for Justin Dempsey, and Justin did a great job with him. I think Justin did. Got him, I think, ready. I mean, you can't get him ready for what he's involved in now, just the physicality of what goes on. But Justin did a great job with him. So, when he came here, he had an idea. I think the thing that it took him a while to get used to was the physicality. You go in there and bang on Jimmy for a while and bang on Mo for a while, and Trey and so forth. I mean, it's the physicality part of it, I think, is what he really had a hard time adjusting to initially. I mean, I think he kind of relishes it now.
Go into the recruitment of him a little bit. The coaches down at Beckley call you and say, "Hey, we got somebody to be interested in." How'd you find him, and how'd you recruit him?
Well, Justin recruited him and brought him over, and Justin sent us some film, and Justin kept saying, he's somebody I think you really need to take a look at. And I think then when we did take a look at him, obviously he's got great bounce, and then he was a lot thinner than what he is now. But I mean, you could see the raw potential that he had. So we were excited about taking him.
Brian Decker.
Coach, if we can go off the basketball court here for a second. You had your fish fry last weekend. Do you have any update on how much money was raised and how, I guess, how successful that was?
Well, I'm told it's 2 million or more. So, I haven't got the figures yet, but I just talked to Debbie, and Debbie had just talked to people that said it's over $10 million.
What's that mean to you too? I guess at least for 2 or 3 years in a row now, hit that total and do that for those organizations that you've raised that money for.
That's why we do it. And we do it. And again, I lost my mother to cancer, and to sit there by her bedside and see my mother struggle through months of cancer was a really, really rough thing. And you just, obviously you feel bad for all the people who have loved ones going through that. And I just thought anything that we could do to help, I think would be time well spent. And I think we have a great need for it here in this state. And my goal is to build a state-of-the-art cancer center here on campus at the university here in Morgantown, where West Virginia people don't have to worry about going to Boston or going all over the place to be treated. They can be treated right here and have state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art doctors that can give our people the best treatment, or as good a treatment as you can get anywhere in the country.
Next question goes to Bob Hertzel.
Yeah, Bob, you have a different team maybe than when you started Big 12 play right now. I mean, you've got far more options available to you. It looks like the option of playing Joe and Keedy together, let's say, playing 3 guards together, playing down low, playing Jimmy and Okonkwo together. How is that going to change things? I mean, talk a little bit about the options that you have facing you and how you will use that.
Well, I think it depends on personnel, depends on their personnel, what we think we can take advantage of. James just keeps getting better and better, and he gives us that shot blocking ability that is special. And I think the more he plays, the better he's going to get. I think the bigger factor he'll be around the rim. But it's a matter of who's playing well that day. I mean, it's kind of good to be able to see somebody's having not their best day and be able to put somebody in. I mean, I think what we do with Keedy's been really banged up. Has not been what Keedy was early on. He's just been, they've really banged him up, and Joe's come in and done a terrific job for us. I think Eric's kind of found himself. He's become much more of a team player. I think his understanding of where and when he can get shots is so much better. And then, I think, with them and Trey, you got 2 really seasoned veteran guys, and, everybody's not going to play well every day. Trey didn't have a great day the other day, and we were still able to win. Emmett's had some days when he didn't play as well as he's certainly capable of playing, which happens. Happens to everybody. So just to be able to have guys off the bench, I think Seth's done a great job for us coming off the bench when other guys have struggled making shots. So I think it's a luxury to have some guys that you can bring in off the bench that can pick up for some guys that maybe aren't having their best days.
You have to feel far more ready to make a run now through the second half than you probably were at the start.
Yeah, I think, I think in the beginning, we were kind of lost. We were, we had guys in the portal, we had transfers, we had freshmen, we had some guys returning, we had such a conglomeration of a lot of different people who had been coached so many different ways. And to be able to get all those guys on the same page was really a struggle. And I think we're to the point now where everybody understands what their role is. They understand what they can do. They understand what their teammates can do. And I think that puts us in a much, much better place. But, that being said, I think everybody else has played as many games as we have, and they've gone through, by and large, the same kind of things that we have.
Thanks.
Kevin Kinder.
Coach, following up on your goal of getting that cancer center built, is there a target number where you would need to get to start construction? Obviously, looking for support from other places as well. Any idea of what that might be, or what your goal would be there?
Well, we're looking at a whole lot of different avenues. We've had discussions with a lot of different people from a lot of different areas. So I don't know that anything right now is definite or set in stone, but I think there are numerous possibilities for us to be able to get the resources that we need to get it off the ground and running.
And then you mentioned going back on the court with all the different players that have starting to find their roles. You've had different players take the lead, as you mentioned, a lot of positives in that. Is there a negative that, hey, maybe at crunch time or when you need a big bucket, maybe there's not one or two players that are initially looking to take the lead? Do you have to have that, or can this approach by group work for the rest of the year?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, and Eric would be the first one to admit this. I mean, he struggled, and we tried to put him in positions where he could win games for us, and he struggled. And I think it was a great learning experience for him. I think he's accepted it. He's come out of it a much better player, a much better teammate as a result of it. And I mean, but that happens. I mean, that happens virtually every team, that it takes some people to find their niche, so to speak.
Next question goes to John and Tony.
Take away from the Auburn game, now that you had a day or two to think about it, what was the most pleasing aspect to you about the way your team was able to hang in there and get a win?
We won. That's the most pleasing thing to me, John. I mean, we kind of, I thought we had decent control of what was going on, and then they came back and they made some shots. They made some hard shots, and then we made some blunders that kind of led to them getting back in the game. But I mean, I was proud of our guys that we hung in there. We could have dropped our heads and hung our heads and not competed. But I think the way we competed down the stretch, that the way we found ways, and I mean that's what it's about. I mean, when you're playing really good people, you got to find ways to win, and it's very rarely ever all the same way, whether it's a steal, whether it's a key rebound, whether it's going to the line and making free throws. I mean, it's a lot of different things, and we've struggled, as I think everybody knows, we've struggled making free throws down the stretch. That's something that we've got to get a whole lot better at. I think a whole lot more comfortable with.
I have one more here. I know last week we talked about the strength of the Big 12, and it kind of played out Saturday with the wins when in the SEC. My question is, when you go back and you look at the Big 12 from say 2019 to today, and you know, with Texas Tech playing in the finals, and then Baylor and Kansas winning national championships, where do you put this league in terms of consistency over the last 5 years? Would you say it's among the best maybe ever? And I don't want to compare it to the Big East in '85 when they had 3 in the Final Four. That's probably the best ever. But when you look at what this league has done over the last 5 years, can you think of another league that compares in basketball to the strength of what the Big 12's done?
No, I don't think so. But I think you know, if you look, there were not good but great coaches. Coaches that were, you know, when everybody said, you know, name the 3 or 4 best coaches in the country, a couple of them at least, maybe 3 were in our league. And I think the other coaches have really kind of stepped up, and you start thinking about the changes that people made, that athletic directors, presidents, whomever made and made, I think, great coaching decisions. You know, I mean, they were able to go recruit, pluck guys that were nationally known, nationally renowned. I mean, you can't look at our league and say, you know, well, you know, that guy's going to struggle in our league. Nobody does. I mean, somebody's obviously got to finish last, but just the tremendous coaching that goes on in this league, and then I think because of that, the ability to attract players, and I think, you know, you can attract better players. I think the more recognition the coach gets, the school gets, the easier it is to recruit.
I mean, all 10 teams in this league are in the top 37 right now. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, they should be.
Well, I mean, I get it, but I mean, do your colleagues, the guys that you talk to, I mean, do they really fully realize, do you think, when you talk to guys, maybe outside the league? I mean, the people in the league know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at what Kansas has been over the years. You look at what Baylor's done here in the last, however many years. I think everybody knows how good a coach Jamie's been, and what Jamie's done to build the program at TCU. You know, they lose a great coach at Oklahoma, and they bring in a young guy who's did a terrific job where he was in a school that was certainly not known for being a basketball power, and took them on a big NCAA run, and now he's doing a terrific job at Oklahoma. Mike's done a fantastic job at Oklahoma State. I mean, it's a hard league, and you can't make mistakes. I mean, if you make a mistake, I mean, we made a mistake obviously at Oklahoma State and lost, and that's a game we could have won. I mean, there's games that we could have won that we made mistakes, and it's a matter of, you know, I think to a degree coaches go through when they get to a place, they're not sure of everything. They're not sure how everything falls, just like players aren't. And so I think the more we have guys that have been in the league, understand what the league's about, understand how hard the league is, understand the officiating of the league, because I mean, let's face the fact, those guys are a huge part of the game. I mean, they want to act like they're not a part of it. They are a huge part of the game, and knowing them, knowing what they call, or, you know, what they like to call, or, you know, that's part of it. And I think the guys that have been in the league for a while obviously are better at it. the longer some of the guys are in the league, I think the better they understand of how some guys will let you, play one way and maybe not another way. It's there's a lot of factors, I guess.
Mike's in the queue. Got one more. I'll let you go on this. You've been in some leagues, and I've heard you say this before, where you knew if your team wasn't at their best, you were going to beat the guy across from you, whoever that was or whatever that was. That's not the case in this league, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I mean, I was in leagues with Denny Crum. I mean, Louisville was Louisville. They were it. I mean, Joey Meyer could really coach. I mean, we had guys, but then we also had guys that were kind of breaking in. They got beat around pretty good because they didn't understand what the veteran guys did understand. And I think that happens everywhere. I think that happens in every league, and that's why athletic directors spend an enormous amount of time. You talk about scouting. I mean, those guys spend an enormous amount of time watching basketball, seeing and their perception, the guys that are going to coach the way they want, their team to coach and act and, whatever, but that has a chance to be successful in this league.
Thanks.
Move on to Mike Kazaza.
Morning, Bob. How are you?
Good, Mike.
Good. If I can go back to your lineup here with the two big guys, with James and Jimmy. A couple of days ago, you said you hadn't even thought about, you didn't have any reason to try it out in practice. And then all of a sudden they're out there Saturday playing and looking pretty good. I'm assuming that's for a matchup, but that pairing in particular, what are you looking for with them? And then I guess from practice to the game, what did you see in the game?
Well, I think what James, excuse me, I think what James did at Texas Tech, I think opened a lot of eyes, and I think most importantly, it opened James's eyes that James could be a factor. And like I said, I mean, there's going to be games when somebody struggles. I mean, it happens. The ball just don't go in. I mean, you leave it a little short. You miss short, you miss long. You're a little careless with the ball. A lot of things happen, and it's nice to have somebody like James that you can bring in. Now, I don't know that we'll continue to bring James in. I mean, he and Jimmy may be what the doctor ordered for us together, but then you take the chance of both of them getting in foul trouble. It's a lot of variables that you gotta try to sit down and you try to evaluate during practice as best you possibly can.
Could you play Mo with one of those two, or is it only those two you feel comfortable playing together right now?
No, we played Mo and Jimmy together way more than we played Jimmy and James together.
Okay. And then obviously that gives you possibilities in the post, but I would imagine you can float around different players around those two, again, depending on the matchups too. Is it fair to say that the other three guys, the variables there, that's just as much a part of the equation as those two in that pairing?
What's a large part of the equation is, what do we need? What are people doing? Are they playing a zone? Are they packing it in? Are they daring us to shoot it on the perimeter? Well, I mean, obviously, if that happens, you want Trey in the game. You want Trey in the game as much as he can be in the game. But on the perimeter, you want Seth in the game. If you need somebody defensively, if there's a lot of switching and things going on, you probably want Kobe in the game. It's a matter of adjusting to what other people do and what their adjustments to you are.
We have time for one last question before practice starts. It goes to Greg Carey.
Yep, Bob, the first meeting with TCU, you pretty much handled them on the glass. I think Jamie said after the game, it was, not exactly a normal basketball game. How do you translate that physicality and bring that to the road tomorrow?
We're gonna do what we do. I've got obviously great respect for Jamie, and Jamie and I have coached against each other for quite a number of years now. So I think we both have a pretty good idea what the other one's gonna do, or at least what they're capable of doing. So we're gonna try to get ready. We know we've watched numerous tapes. Haven't done anything really but watched TCU since the Auburn game's over, and I'm sure Jamie has spent a lot of time doing the same. So he'll try to figure out how to change what we did to them, and we'll try to figure out what they did to us. So how we can get better.
Okay, Coach Huggins, your practice is starting. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.